Now, how did that get in the way? There. Whew. Hi, guys. It's Blackie. I had to squeak in here. One of them days where you're in a hurry getting stuff done and go do this, go do that, and it just kind of busy, you know what I mean? There we go. Hope everybody's having a good night, good day. And it's been a low 80s type day, pretty warm. So thus far, we've been okay, though. Now, okay, one person's in. I guess it's going to be a slow night. Before I forget, I will be not in next Thursday night. I'm going to be busy doing something. Gary, good evening. Hope you're doing well this evening. James Singer, good evening to South Carolina. Fishing Golf, hello to Illinois. Hot and breezy there, yeah, I hear you. Battle 1776, good evening. Christopher Evans, hello there. Yeah, if that heat wave that came out of Texas and went north, that came all the way out of the deserts down right at the equator and has moved up and sucked all the way up to us. So really impressive. Oh, making hazard cartridges. Okay. Donald, hello there. Dead Prepper, good evening. P. Jones, howdy. Charles, good evening. Bear's in the house. Hello there, Randy. How you doing? Spade Tiller, howdy. Well, I have got a new cap and ball revolver. It just arrived today. And so I will be doing an unboxing. Then we'll be doing a cleanup evaluation. Then we'll be doing the gunsmithing preparation. Then we will be defarbing it. Then we will be doing a finish so it looks like a worn finish instead of a true antique. I'm going to do this one as a very worn finish and show you how to do that. And that's going to be a series of probably 4 or 5 videos. I'm going to put them onto my Rumble account. And I'll let y'all know when it's ready to go up. I will start probably tomorrow actually doing the unboxing and starting. So give me about a week, but I will let y'all know when I'm posting it. For those that follow me for my percussion revolver stuff, I'll let you know when it's going to my Rumble account and you can watch along with it there. Oh, let's see. Jeff, good evening to Newfoundland. William, hello, 2020, good evening. Sasquatch, how you doing? Oh, Tim Pierce, okay. Hope y'all doing all right. Tornado warning's over. Stupid stop motion. Any thoughts on above the best chicken? Not really sure. Common Sense Karen, good evening. Oh, yeah, going from 50s to 90s. Yeah, I bet that was no fun. Charles Martin, how you doing? I'm doing pretty well. I went over and spent some time with Bear and shot a video, and I got to admit, I get a little winded now. And it was in the low 90s or upper 80s. And just any kind of exertion, it's like, and you just run out of air. And so I got to condition myself to it a little bit better. I'm going to keep going and keep doing the best I can. That's all I can do. Charles Martin, okay. Hope you enjoyed yourself camping. Gary, okay, you're making yourself a bug out bag out of a sling bag. Cool. Gear Boy, good evening. Yeah, Dance with Empty. There'll be more coming. I would love to do a whole lot more, but the venue. That's the reason I'll be doing it, and I'll be putting it over there and just let you guys know it's up. And you go over and you can still get the information. So. Lamb and Dot. Yes, it has. It's been quite a while. Squat Shot. Hello. Jeff Alexander, doing well. Yeah, I was just seeing a thing that was reported of a lady that was found out west. She'd been missing for about a week, and they just found her in a cabin, was snowbound in a cabin somewhere up in the mountains. Sanford Brown, hello. Yep, Gray Wolf, believe it or not, it is Thursday already. And I will say this a couple times. I will not be on next Thursday night. I'm getting some wood smoke. I'm spending some time in the woods next Thursday. So I will not be on next Thursday. I will try to post y'all a video Thursday day to try to make up for it, but I won't be on next Thursday. Gary, my house did fine. You know, I'm very lucky in the location of it. There's a hill behind my house, and it kind of acts like a ski jump. And so anytime we get major storms, they come from that direction. That's the direction that tornadoes would come through, and hurricanes usually come from that direction. And it puts it above. I mean, when you're standing on the hill behind my house, you're looking like your feet level is even with the top of my house. So it kind of ski jumps that bad stuff up and over me. So far, so good. Midlife Wanderings, good evening. Justin Kuhn, hello, brother. Well, I hope you get to feeling better, brother. Well, hello to Chris and Bob in Southwest Ohio. But 110, hello to Rome, Georgia. Jackie Black, well, hello there. Yeah, Justin's down there with that heat bubble rolled up, like I said, from Mexico into Texas. And they were predicting like 110, 112. That's August weather. But it's just a intense, dry heat from the deserts down in Mexico that got pulled by all this stuff shifting up into New England and everything else up in the Midwest. That suction kind of pulled it up above the border. Ooh, head gaskets and transmissions. Gray Wolf, I hear you. Midlife Wanderings. You know, I'm curious. Would you ever do a biography of your life? Midlife? No one would ever believe it. Uh-uh. You know, it my life has been a Forrest Gump type existence. The people I've known, the things I've done, the careers I've had, the experiences I've had, no one would ever believe it. It's just no, it's just not something. It's one of them things that truth is stranger than fiction, and it just. I had somebody back when I was in college that was a aspiring writer, and they wanted me to dictate stories to them. And so I did, I think, an hour a week for about 50 weeks of stories. And they compiled a lot of those stories and was doing a doctoral thesis. And that's all I know. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I remember all them stories and etc. And no one is ever going to believe my life. No one. Washburn Billy, hello there. Mark Birch, good evening. Midlife wanderings. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You could be a mid. Nobody would ever believe it. It just no. Nobody'd ever believe it. I had uh, somebody was talking about at my funeral, what it was going to be like at my funeral. The people that knew me under living history, that for 20 something years, all the stories, the people that knew me in my professional career, the people that knew me through the Boy Scouts, the people that knew me as a street kid from the other side of the tracks when I was young, high school, college, the people I knew through woodscraft and etc. The mixing of people would be just the stories. No one would ever believe it's the same person. So, sub in my way. It means, yep, it means I've been an explorer. Yeah, Mark Burris, I did. I used my pocket knife to dig steps in the wall and dug my way out of a sinkhole because there wasn't nobody coming. Oh, cool, Gary. You did the mustard treatment. I hope it comes out well for you. Cool. Cool, Wayne Powell. I'm sure you'll love it. Patriot Preacher, good evening. Gray Wolf. I bet that was a lot of fun growing up in Alaska with your dad being a bush pilot. Yes, Dance with Empties. Enjoyed that peer video on snakes in your area. Was told by a buddy from down south that any snake that is pure black in the south is a good thing. Usually a snake, yeah, it's a king snake. There's the black pine snake, which eats other snakes. There's the black king snake, and then there's the blue indigo that a lot of times appears black. So an all black snake, you leave it alone. And there's several all black snakes, but all of them are good snakes. So you leave them alone whenever possible. Miss John, if you know the name of the student, we get the thesis. I've lost track 20 years ago. I graduated from college in 2000. So I'm afraid I don't have them anymore. I don't know even where to go. Diane Houston, good evening. Diane, if you wasn't in here earlier, I've got a brand new cap and ball revolver, and I will be doing a series. I'm going to be unboxing it. I'm going to be cleaning it up right out of the box, checking it out. Then there's going to be a video about me adjusting it to make it range ready. They'll be the going out, getting it shooted and sighted in and modified to where it's range ready. And then there's going to be the refinishing in it and defarbing it to make it look like a worn old original, not a true antique finish, but a worn old original finish. I'm going to put them together and I'm going to post them onto my Rumble account. So I'm going to start shooting the videos probably tomorrow night, but it's going to take a little time. But when I get it all done, I'll let y'all know and give y'all the links on my videos in here of where to go look on Rumble and find me over there. So there is a new series of the percussion revolver coming, but it's going to be over there. But I will give y'all the information on here. So it is coming. Mike Simmons, good sir. Good to see you. Blackie, would you be interested in making a first aid video for snake bites? I will be happy to cover that topic and realistically what you should be looking at, etc. So I will mark that down and we'll see what I can do to talk about it. Ground Fog, good evening. Lucius, good evening. Midlife Wonders. In fact, no one believe it would be, yeah. We'd have to do it as a comedy because a lot of it, it wasn't funny at the time, but I'm sure would be funny now. Number one, Big Bear, good evening. Tim Pierce, glad you enjoyed it. Midlife, we'll see. Yep, Diane, I'll just as soon as I can get it done and posted, I will let y'all know about it. Hopefully this venue will make it where I can do stuff on here, because I would really like to. Sure, Gray Wolf, go ahead. Craig, good evening. Yes, Washburn Billy, Bear is in here tonight. Say hi. Sub MOA, what's your favorite snake bite medicine? If we are talking about the preventative kind, it's usually aged Scotch is my preferred. Although Good Shine is really good too, but I will say aged Scotch is my preferred for that. Chris P, good evening. Oh, Grey Wolf, I get you. Yeah, doing an early 1900 North to Alaska type thing. I got you. The guys that are doing that's really coming into view now. Sarge Venning and them are doing the classic camping of the late 1800s, early 1900s, up to like the 30s. Canterbury and them is getting into it. So being a early 1900 Alaska trapper would very much fall into that, and could be a great reenactment to do. Oh, cool, Grey Wolf. Yeah, a single shot rolling block would be an excellent choice. Miss Pam's in the house. Good evening, Miss Pam. Does a Rogers and Spencer fit in? Yes. Um, Rogers and Spencer was developed at the very end of the Civil War, and it was the last gun, the last percussion gun that the U.S. Army released into surplus, and they did that in the very late, like 1898, 1899, or early 1900. And Bannerman's bought them, and I think the 1903 catalog has those in it. So carrying one of those would be historically accurate for that time period. It would absolutely, Grey Wolf, it would fit. Right, sub MOA, I got you. Michigan Silverback. I hope the storm goes well for you. Everything's great, and I'm glad you shared it with the grandkids. Any way I can help, just let me know, brother. Dance with Empties. Blackie, is there a snake repellent you know of that you can actually put around camp? Yes, there is. And if you look at a lot of farmers co-ops and stuff, the name of it was called Snake Away. Okay, and it was powder, and it was for putting in gardens and stuff like that to deter snakes. A fact is that snakes really don't like the smell of other dead snakes. And so apparently this powder they get from, I don't know, I guess someplace where they hold snakes for hepiculture or for milking the venom or whatever. But anyway, they get us this some essence from them, or maybe from the shed hides. I don't know, and they put it in powder form. And I've had several people say that they've had snakes around, let's say, a shed, and they have put the powder around it, and the snakes have left and did not return. So the official name of it was Snake Away, AWAY. Haven't seen it in a while, but I do know such a device actually existed. I hear you, cow tipper, but thanks for dropping in. Blue Bandit, hello to South Louisiana. Arsenal 1886, hello there. Mark Burgess, I agree. I would like to see the Ruger Old Army come back, especially with the modern manufactured techniques they've got today. I think they could streamline that and make that a very viable gun. And it's held on. It's held its value in the surplus market when these things are selling for $700-800 used. Yeah, I could see bringing that back. You know, if none else is a limited run. New Zealand Outdoor Blades, glad to help. Arsenal, does sulfur work? I have heard that sulfur can work for snake. It just depends. It's how much does it offend them? Okay, that's where I can tell you. I've heard potash does the same thing, but at what point do you put out something that's toxic to you or toxic to the environment? So, you know. Yes, Battle Royale 76, they are down. And Kaufman's was selling the FEMA MREs for like 45, 40. It was either $30 or $40 a case. I think it's 16 meals, the FEMA ones. And good to throw into the larder just in case. Terry, doing well. Chris P., I have heard that mothballs can work. Usually when I've heard them be effective was people around chicken coops and stuff like that. And there was like a hole in the floor. They didn't want the snake to come up. They'd put mothballs down there. But that's just naphtha, and it evaporates over time. It's a very limited use. You have to keep upping it. Oh, Gary, you got snake away at the shop. Good. All right. Ace Hardware has snake away. Cool. Yeah, but Gray Wolf, you cannot import mongoose. You know that. You better just turn loose possums. They'll eat them. Yes. I've got some of the new Remington caps and the new 10 Gray Wolf. I like them. They seem to work well. Yeah, sub them away. One of the things that it was the Ruger Black Hawk 45 barrel and frame, and just a different cylinder, different hammer, and the loading lever was different that went into the slot. But it's the same frame, etc., as basically the Ruger Blackhawk. So it's not like they're not making those parts still. So it shouldn't be that big a thing for them to bring it back. I've often wondered, was it because the machinery they'd been used finally wore out and they didn't want to put in the investment money to make the new machinery to make it with? I've often wondered if that's why they quit making it. Live snakes, dead snakes, and sticks that look like snakes. I get you. Preacher man, possums are great. People say I don't want a possum in my yard. I do. They don't bother anything. I will throw a handful of cat food out on the back porch for one, not a bowl, but just a handful. You know, he'll take care of snakes. He'll take care of other things in the yard. Goats are really good for getting rid of snakes as well. They think they're a delicacy. Uh, Justin Coon, our caps coming in now. They should be in production now, and should start showing up this coming month. So, say in the next 4 weeks, they should start showing up. Start looking at your sources and wait for them to pop up. And that'd be a good time if you've got a relationship with some supplier or whatever, like Mid South Shooter Supply or Midway USA or something. If you got somebody there you can call by name and you know who they are, I would give them a holler and say, "Hey, you got them caps in yet?" And see if you can get in on the list or something. Terry, I don't know if they still make that big Red Hawk or not. I really don't. So, man, my way, very possible. I'm sure there was something that changed because they were able to produce that gun in the 60s, 70s. And then but they produced it for like 25 years or so. And I often, like I said, I often thought they had a certain set of machinery that they did the special jigs, and it probably got where it wasn't producing the quality they wanted. It was getting wore out, and they just didn't want to put the money in to go and invest and make new, would be my guess, you know. Oh, Chris P, cool. True, Gray Wolf. That's one of the things with the Rogers and Spencer. It was not designed to have that, and letting it down between it's too rounded, it'll slip off, which was fine in a full flap holster because it protected it. It wouldn't rotate because the holster kind of gripped the cylinder when you put it in. But and you can't cut one in. That's correct. You could always do the old. Um, you did not hear this from me. I am in no way advocating. These are not the droids you're looking for. But we would cock and put a leather thong, just a short piece of leather, underneath the hammer and let the hammer down. And it would hold the hammer up where it couldn't go all the way down. And you would have to hit it like whack to get it to go and carry 6. And of course, it was up against us, so muzzle's facing that way, and it would be a truly odd fall to hit it. But we were using it for going through swamps, and we might have something big and mean up close, and we were carrying those. And we should have been toting a shotgun, but Marvin Carpenter, hello to West Virginia. Redskin Garage, good evening. Guy, excuse me, I'm nose trying to close up. I'll be all right and all right. And I guess it's a blood pressure change or something. It's just like you just went and just close off my nose. And I can't seem to get enough air, and I can do that and open my nose back up. Tim Pierce, Smith & Wesson Magnum frame revolver, in frame for 387. In frame is a little bit small and light, and if you're looking for a personal carry and you can get one in it, yes, but realize that smaller frame is going to give you a whole lot more kick. The well, no, I'm confusing the K and the N. N frame is the larger, yes. The K frame is the lighter, and but yeah, N frame would probably be my best bet for it. They've been around the longest. They seem to hold up the best, and you rarely ever hear of a frame problem with them. So, Jason Garling, yes, you can email me at scalphunter down in the description. I put down scalphunter36330 at yahoo.com. Email me there and we can talk. We can hook up. Terry, hello. Thanks for looking that up. Terry, I think that they may. Are you looking for the leather holster for the belt or the leather holster for the shoulder? And the place I would recommend you going, let me find the name of it. World War Supply. World War Supply. That's what I'd recommend. That's where I just ordered that holster I got that's got the shell loops on it. They're made out of India, but it's made at really good quality, and it's for the World War II reenactors. And you can get all the 1911 holsters, including the cavalry one that's on the drop loop and everything. And that holster was $16, and I think it's like $22 for a leather full military grade. So World War Supply, go look at them. What is the service rounds life for a standard 1911 45 ACP? In the tens of hundreds of thousands, I'd bet. In all my years of heavy shooting, I never truly wore out a good 1911. I've had, the accuracy wasn't as good because the rifling were wore down. Usually in the 10 to 15,000 rounds through a 1911. And just change the barrel and you're right back. But frames, slides, all of the above, tens of thousands of rounds would be my bet. The U.S. military did not buy a new 1911 from 1945 until the 1980s when they retired that gun. They never bought another 1911. So all the 1911s that fought in Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, all of that before were World War II 1911s. And if you go to CMP in Anniston, Alabama, they've got them. They allow you to buy 2 a year if you want to buy actual U.S. Army issue 1911. But I got news for you, they're wore out. They also sell a brand new TISA, which is a 1-to-1 copy of the military issue 1911 parkerized and everything for like 400 something bucks. That is a 1-to-1. It's the same. The quality is good and everything. So, Dead Prepper, Scalp Hunter. That sounds aggressive. I was a manager and had, when this new fad of having emails appeared, and I had no thing about it. And my secretary, bless her little heart, because I was a general manager for this place, set it up. And why she picked Scalp Hunter, I don't know. You know, I guess because I got some Native American in my background, but she put down Scalp Hunter, and then the second email I had was Black Oracle 69 because she had horrible choices in guys. And she would leave on Friday absolutely heartbroken. She had broke up with guy A, come in Monday madly in love. They're picking out China with guy B. And they would be a hot fling going on for a little bit of time. And he'd come in the office or whatever, and I would see him, and she'd ask me my honest opinion, and I'd say, do you want me to honestly give you my opinion? And she finally would say yes, and I would give her my honest opinion. I was always right, and it was never what she wanted to hear. Never. And so she called me Black Oracle. Oracle will tell you what's going to happen. Black, you don't want to know what's going to happen. And so she's the one that came up with Black Oracle 69. Everybody thought it was something dirty. You know, so Black Oracle and Scalp Hunter have been my two emails for God knows. And I got them other emails. And then I lost access to all of them because of this wonderful Windows 11 that whenever it did its bit, all the Microsoft, all of that, all of the Google, all of the stuff, it owns all of that. And so I had a Michael, and then I had a Blackie email account, which it considered my brand account. And YouTube, all of that's all linked, see. And so back earlier, I mean, last year, right around the time of the stroke, it went to trying to force feed where I wanted it or not, Windows 11 in, and just locked me out all of those. So it recognized Michael and all the Black Oracle ones that were for Blackie, or it's there, but I can't access it at all. It just has this great big button that says delete, delete, you know, and I'm scared to touch that because it may delete my YouTube account. And suddenly Blackie Thomas is gone, and every bit of all those videos is gone. Yeah, I got them right there in Drive, but I don't want to have to start all over again. So, yeah, emails. Let me catch back up. Now I'm getting off my rant. Okay, Grey Wolf, friend gave you a salted dried rattlesnake hide. Any ideas on how to tan it for a hat band? Antifreeze. You can soak it in antifreeze. Look up antifreeze method tanning snake hide, and it'll show you exactly what to do. It's really simple. Gary, hello from Wheeling, West Virginia. Let's see. Redskin, ever smooth spots in the rifling of a 51? Mine has some cheap model. I have a little bit. What I have had to do is take a like a bore brush for like a 22, and I would wrap fine steel wool on it, and then I would put a fine grinding compound on it and get to that rough spot, and just by hand go in and out and polish it so it's turning. You unscrew just a little bit so that when you push it in, you're only going to go back and forth about that far. So you got a rough spot right here, and so that it's following the rifling. It's not just pushing, it's going with the rifling, and it will polish that rough spot and improve it a little bit. It won't make it go away, but it will make it where it may increase the accuracy a little bit and cut down on it being such a detrimental problem. Okay, I'm catching up. Dance with empties. Good night. Jay Baker, my Rock Island 1911 does really good as well. Okay, I think I'm about caught up. Chris P, actually the 69 was because, believe it or not, there were 54 Black Oracles existing. And so she just jumped to 69. Black Oracle 69. In fact, my channel was called that. When you first started doing my YouTube channel, you had to use an email. And that was the email I used. So I put in Black Oracle 69, and nobody would make reference to me on these other channels. They had mentioned that guy, but nobody would reference it because it was Black Oracle. They thought it was something dirty. And so I changed it to Shaman's Forge. And then eventually I just dropped it and went to Blackie because everybody was talking about Blackie, not Shaman's Forge. And so I just went to Blackie, you know, and let everybody just call me by name. What sharpening compound do you use for your belt knife? The green one, green polishing compound. You can get it for like $4 at Harbor Freight. And it's just a chalk stick. Okay. Okay, Grammy. Okay, you're from was from Wheeling, but you're a Carolina person. Gotcha. Blackie, what country has the best military surplus? Ooh. Well, America would probably be number one. Two would probably be German. Third would be British, depending on the thing. Okay. Then you get to a lot of these other places. It just depends. Some of the stuff from this country I like. Some of the stuff I like better over here. It just depends then. But those would be my top three choices. Sanford, tried the ladies down there in my description box. I got the number for them at the surplus store. Call them. I believe they got mosquito nets. Hardy, yeah, I believe what's happening in, Cimarron has such a deal and they do such big bulk orders. I think their stuff gets a little bit more, you know, finesse than like Cabela's, which does in smaller blocks. Well, preacher man, that's it. If it's a aluminum frame 1911, what finish would you recommend? I would honestly, before I sprayed on it, I'd go get aluminum black. Uh, the the small bottles of bluing, they make one called aluminum black as well, and it will do what bluing does to steel. It does to aluminum. I would black it first, then I would make sure it was not oiled, de-oil it, and then I would put on something like that Teflon Molly coat or something like that, because that would really seal the material, and I think it'd work better in the long run. Gearboy Forge, what is the meaning of Shaman's Forge? Shaman's Forge is because the statement that a shaman is forged in the fires of life. And so, in my family background, Native American, you've got a shaman. And so, what I'm saying is Shaman's Forge. What it would mean is my life experiences I'm sharing with you. That's what the Shaman's Forge is, the fires of life that forged you. And so, that's what it's from. Yes, Redskin. Have you ever heard of mercury bullets? Yes, they're illegal. It was because you would shoot and the mercury would go into the body of the person and then poison them and kill them. It was a poison bullet and it has been outlawed since the 1800s. So that's, mercury bullets. Bad, 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 bad. Okay, Terry, you said yours is hard rock, new to stropping. That's fine. Just rub it on. In fact, it being hard is actually a little bit advantage. You only want a thin amount. Okay. So like my strop, I just want to put it up there. I like to put it on a corner and just roll this as I apply it to the stone and to the strop. And I just want a little bit. That's it. You know, you don't want it caked on there. You just want a little bit, and then do your stropping. See. Blackie, have you ever used a Yugoslavian musket? I have seen them and I have held them and stuff, but I have not used one. I like the Swiss so much. The U.S. and the Swiss and the British are pretty close, in my opinion. So that's be what I normally hang with. Andy Knight, hello to South Georgia. Yeah, Redskin, I would keep those as keepsakes, but don't use them because in court you can't defend that. Yeah, correct, Chris. You're okay, Chris. Yeah, the Swedish mess kit with that with the Transia stove absolutely works great. Cool. Well, hello to Pittsburgh, Dan. Perrysburg, Ohio. Excuse me, Don Duvall and Perrysburg, Ohio. Wade, are you planning anything in Florida coming up? October, Halloween. I'll be coming down to the Rewild gathering down there, and it's right there at Halloween in October. I'll be down there in Florida. Mark Burgess, I remember that, and they had a primer in both ends. Yeah, the problem with any kind of ammunition like that is when you get to court. Um, take and point. It was called Black Talon. It was a very effective self defense round that the uh, round had jagged saw-like blades that were curled in a certain pattern, and on impact they would open up like a flower opening up. The problem was that it was a fantastic self-defense round. It was originally envisioned just for police because it would absolutely not over-penetrate. If it went into a target, it stayed in the target, so you didn't have to worry in a crowd of the bullet zipping through and hitting somebody down the street. The problem with it was those little tips could snap off in the body. So it was a righteous shooting. This guy was holding up a liquor store, he broke into your house or whatever. The problem with it is that what the lawyers on their side of the table was saying was, oh, regular ammunition wasn't good enough. You had to find ammo that would maim my client for life. And they were losing court cases simply because you used that ammo. Even though it was a righteous shooting, but the ammo you used was being used against you. And then you were, even though you won the case and he was convicted in court of attempting to kill you, he would turn around and countersue you in civil court and win $1 million case for you shooting him when he tried to kill you because of the bullets used. And that's the reason Black Talon was taken off the market. And so all of these exotic things had primers in them and everything else. You can't defend it in court because you can bet a good defense attorney is going to turn around, even though it was a righteous shoot, they're going to turn around and make you the problem, and you're going to have to defend against it, and that's not worth it, especially when they got so many off the shelf brands that are available. So, Chris P, that's exactly what it was. It was borderline explosive. It busted open, make a big hole. Oh yeah, Sportsman 83. Hello to Cleveland. Yeah, Randy T. The 5110. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Exactly. It was ruled armor piercing, and it was also toxic, and the little pieces would break off in the body, and it just gave the opposing counsel a field day to attack you over the ammunition you chose. Yeah, Randy. The three S's: shoot, shovel, and shut up. No, Black Saber is very similar though. Terry. Hey, Steve Kingsbury. Good evening. Yeah, Hardy, do you know anything about fixing hairline cracks in stocks? I got an old long time shotgun to practice learning gunsmithing on. Yeah, if it's actually where you can put it under a little bit of load and it spreads a little bit, get you some super glue, especially if you can find the super glue that's got the needle on it, and get it into something where you can put just a little bit of pressure and open it up just a little bit. Run you a bead of that glue in there as far as you can and open and close it 2 or 3 times, and then put another bead of glue in it, and then squeeze it tight, hold it, and then just sand or buff it off. And usually you can seal up one of those cracks pretty well. It's usually a dryness crack where the actual fiber of the wood that was a natural, where two grains, like a winter and a summer, where they just didn't grip well together. And as the stock of the wood is dried over long term and age, they've kind of pulled apart a little bit. You put that little filler in there and it'll hold it really good. Now, I could tell you about some real expensive stuff. Super glue for what you're going to do works just as good, to be honest. Correct, Wade. Yeah, Golden Sabres were Remingtons. Yeah, Don Duval, thank you very much. Correct. Checking. Correct. Surgical tubing or an old inner tube of a bicycle works well as well. I used to have several pre-cut up pieces of inner tube when I did gunsmithing to pull tension on a stock like that. I'd put a shop towel around the stock, and then I'd wrap it with surgical tubing or an inner tube to pull it tight, and it'd keep a constant pressure and work really, really good. Great on odd shaped things that you can't really put a clamp on, and work really enough. Hiram, good evening. Midlife wonders. Do you have any advice on ticks? Yes. One, go by the pet department and pick up a bag of red cedar shavings like you put into a rabbit's cage. No insect likes the smell of red cedar. The clothes you're going to be wearing on this camping event or whatever, store them in there for at least 24 to 40 hours before. Like I get a plastic tub, put the stuff, and then put the stuff on top. You can put a divider between them. I like to put the red cedar shavings into like a pair of pantyhose or something and sit it on top of it. But the important thing is let that smell get into it. One, that will do the best I've ever seen to keep insects off of you of all kinds. Two, start taking vitamin B12 and change the pH of your blood. Now, you don't smell or taste anything different. Just, I'm going out Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Take 2 of the vitamin B12. Don't worry, it'll just run right on through you. But what it'll do is it'll change your blood pH, and now you taste bitter to all the blood sucking insects. You can't stop that mosquito from coming to you, but you can make it where you don't smell or taste good to them. And all the blood sucking insects like ticks and etc., if your blood pH is above or below a certain point, it's toxic to them, and they don't want to. They may bite, but they'll immediately spit and get away from you because you taste bad. So that makes you smell bad and taste bad. Then tuck clothes in, putting tape around the bottom of pants, double-sided tape to keep them crawling up. But in my part of the South, they like to drop down off of trees and stuff like that. They'll come out the end of the limbs and drop down on the deer and stuff like that. So I'll get them more on my shirt than coming up my legs. That's one of the reasons I like a big old hat. So, and then of course, treat your camping gear with permatin and therefore make you smell bad and taste bad to them that way. So that's multiple layers of I'm not what you want, and make them I am not the blood you want, and they leave. Sub MOA, what's your favorite all-time bass bait? Okay, you have pulled a pin on a grenade. If we're talking fly rod, my all-time favorite is the black spider with white legs. Number two, there is a white little skirt that you can get to hook on to something else that looks like a grub with little, you know, tassels on it. Okay. You hook it backwards onto the hook so that the tassels face up the line. It looks like a grub with the guts out. Fly fish it. Deadly on panfish. If we step up then to, I want a lure that is going to be a soft lure, it's going to be either a lizard or a pretty long worm. If the sky is dark and the water is dark, I want black or really dark colors. If the sky is overcast but the water is relatively clear, I want white or bright colors. If the water is clear and the sky is clear, I want the most natural looking color that I have in my arsenal at the time. Shift over. If I haven't got anything with throwing it out there and porpoising it up and down nice and slow and etc., then I will shift over to something like a MEPS. And I like a MEPS red. Seems to do really, really good in my neck of the woods. Shift from that. If I have start out with a fly rod, that didn't work. I shifted over to a soft bodied something, porpoising it up and down. That didn't work. I sped it up and slowed it down. Then I went to my MEPS, which has got a little twirly on it. I'm trying to get a little bit of an aggression strike. That ain't produced nothing. Then I shift over something with a big bow hunking blade. And yes, breaking yours in does make a difference. I like to take those big spinner things, take the skirt off of it so it's just a little twirly in the metal hook, and hook it on to the antenna on the car and take about a 45-minute drive and let that thing spin like crazy, and it will wear it in. It'll have a high-pitched whine to it when it goes to the water. It increases strikes. It really does. That's my fishing 101. In fact, I did a class. I think I did I do it at Pathfinder? One of the places I did a year or so ago, where I came in and they wanted to know about me to get up and talk about fishing. And so I gave my class on fishing. Terry, on y'all's ground, say like the gray wolf, silver wolf gathering, do y'all treat the ground for fire ants? If we see there's a fire ant mound close by, we'll mark it or take care of it. And but we'll do the best we can to keep people that are coming, especially the silver wolves, to not get into ants. We'll treat that and take care of that down there. Have you any experience with Palmetto State Armor? I do not. I take that back. I may have in the long past, but it does not ring a bell right now. I know what you're talking about, but it just does not leap to mind right now of something I did in the past. Okay. Tim Funk, any future plans for another Silver Wolf class? Yes. Me having the stroke kind of put us down. So we will be revisiting that in the near future. But I had to just have some time for me to mentally and physically get back to a point where I could get up in front of a class. And so we're working on it. So sub MOA, yeah, high pitch whine. Just sitting there spin it. You got to normally the older the lure got, the more effective it was, and we figured out that there's something about it polishing in. So we just hook it, to the antenna on the truck and let it, so that we take the twist ties like you put on garbage bags and put like 3 of them things up there and just let them run. And you drive back and forth to work or go to the, visit the in-laws or something. And you'd start out and it'd be 30 minutes later, it'd be, and about an hour into like, it becomes this annoying. When it become a real annoying whine, you knew she was broke in good. And you'd take and clip it down, put it back in the tackle box, and it did increase strikes. Because that type of lure is going for an aggression strike. It's irritating the fish so much, they're not trying to eat it. They're trying to kill it, bottom line. Yeah. Oh, that's right, Bear. That's right. I helped you with your AR. That's right. Gray Wolf, I hope it happens. Love to camp with you. Charles Martin, do you ever use a kite when you're camping? I do. I alternate around all kinds of different ways. And in fact, this recent gathering, I was in my one wind hot tent with a kite. I put my kite crossways the back of it, and I slept on a U.S. Army cot for the whole thing. I like to do all of it. So this coming camp out, which tomorrow, here's a hint, guys. Tomorrow, I will do a loadout for a coming camp out where I'm going to be loading my pack and everything, detailing everything I'm carrying, including the hammocks and etc. So I'll be hammock camping this time. I'm not going to take my big barrel and my big camp with my big hot tent. I'm going smaller and lighter this time because it's just going to be a 2 or 3 day event. And so I'm going kind of light, and I'm going to carry my hobo fisher, and I'm going to take the canoe, and me and a couple friends are going to do a little bit of fishing. And so it's just going to be a laid back, enjoyable. So I'm not taking the big camp with me, but that will be posted tomorrow. That's tomorrow's video. But yes, I do camp on cots. I camp with low cots, high cots. I camp in several kinds of hammocks, and I have been known to sleep on the ground, even although it's usually in the winter, because the ground down here moves with too much during the summer or the warm time. So there's no shame sleeping on a cot. Chris P, thank you very much. Sir Malcolm, well, welcome to the crowd. Thanks for dropping in. Sub MOA, can you define what breed the traditional feist dog? Oh, feist is a small rat terrier sized dog that can be bred up from like the Chihuahua or one of the terrier size, like a rat terrier, that size dog. And usually, if it was all dark, they called it a feist. And those were predominantly used for like squirrel, rabbit hunting, stuff like that. This was a blood dog. Its idea was it would leap in and attack. A very favorite thing around the farms were feists were for getting rats and stuff in barns. I mean, them wharf rats and stuff. Not no mouse. We're talking about rats the size of fox squirrels. You could eat this rat. It's big enough. You could certainly afford with some of them. They're like a possum. But at the same time, feists would also be used for getting possums, coons, stuff like that. It was designed as a fighting dog, and I've seen variations of feists coming out of the terriers. I've seen Chihuahuas bred with rat terriers. I've seen dachshunds bred into rat terriers and then breed like 2 or 3 generations to get the longer legs and the shorter body mass, but get that fearlessness of a Chihuahua or the fearlessness of a dachshund. I hope that helps. Because trust me, if you ever see a feist, you'll know the difference. He ain't scared of nothing. It could be an 1,800-pound bull. He will latch onto the nose and, he's going to take it down. So, my mama had a feist, you know. In fact, I'm named after a feist. His name was Mike, not Mike, not Mac, Mike. And he was a feist. And she had him for, I think, 16 years, and he died a few months before I was born, and Mama named me after that dog. Swear to God. You talked about, Forrest Gump, nobody believe me. I'm named after a dog. So, sometime around a campfire, I'll be glad to I'll tell y'all some stories that nobody will ever believe that I actually went through, or what my name's and everything else. Yes, sub-MOA. That's it. The bigger rat terrier, they're normally thicker and muscular bodies, you know, but fast fighters, you know. They were just they're a more aggressive, bigger version of it. You didn't want them really big; they might take you down. So, but I've saw many of them in farms and stuff like that. People had fights, and that was normally a warning. If they ever said, "I have a fight," you knew, you know. Yes, gray wolf. We had one that would go in armadillo holes and disappear for an hour. He'd come out and spit out a root, and he'd go back in, you know, and he'd come out with the tail of an armadillo because the armadillo's trying to dig ahead of him, stay ahead of him. He's still trying to get a hold of something. He'd be underground going, boop, 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 boop. Yeah. Total dark, it didn't matter. He would just keep going. Sir Malcolm, yeah. What did I just say? That Mac? Yeah, I know. It's just the way she pronounced it. It's not Mike and it's not Mac. It's Mac. It's Mac. You know, and he just had to hear it. Really old South. You know, I believe it or not, I have a very high IQ. I'm not trying to brag, guys, but I have a high IQ and I have 10 years college education. And but my family were not educated, and so I my speech pattern was based upon communicating with them, and so it was very easy to use words well above their knowledge level. And so I learned to talk at a certain way and a certain level. And one of the words I heard as a child that I was finally in my 20s when I ever found out what in the world the word meant, but I understand what she meant it to be. But where did my grandmother get this? It was carn. Smell like carn. Carn. A old word out of Scottish Gaelic. A cairn is a graveyard. So her saying it smelled like a cairn, she's saying it smells like cairn, which means carrion, which means she's smelling decomp. Smells like cairn. I was an adult before I pieced all of that together and figured out she means cairn and it's carrion and it's decomp. Aha, I knew what she was talking, but I couldn't, where'd the word come from? And that was her grandmama had used that word, and so that's the word she used. And there's a lot of things like that, little terminologies and stuff. You know, my wife, when she was a little girl, her daddy never said watermelon. He said melon water, and it's stuck in her head to this day. If she's not thinking, she'll say, let's get a melon water, meaning to say watermelon. But because of the way her daddy's little way of it, she says melon water, you know. Correct, Sir Malcolm. Karen from Graves. Yes, sir. Exactly, Sir Malcolm. Appalachia. But my family was old Southern South, backwoods people, you know. So they kept to themselves, they talked to themselves. Yeah. Oh, cool. You got your new puppy. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. How is creek pronounced in the South? Crick. CRIC, like a crick in the neck across the creek. It's a crick. It's the funny thing is once you delve into it, if you will take the southern dialect like I speak and you record it and speed it up just a tiny amount, I mean, it is on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like 2, 1.5 to 2. And it sounds like Cockney English instantly. You will swear that person from downtown London. It's because the southern dialect comes from Old English, and it was Scottish, Gaelic, but it was English being spoken at the rate and timbre of Scottish, because 80% of the South was Scottish descent. My family on grandfather's side, Scottish descent. And so because of that, the words kind of, it's like you're speaking English, but you're speaking it at French rate or whatever. And so it adds that little sound to it. But that's creek, crick, Here's something else for you. Hoochie and Hatchie. Chattahoochee is the river between Alabama and Georgia. Chattah means rock. Hoochie means river. Choctaw Hatchie. Hatchie means creek. Choctaw Creek. So Hatchie and Hoochie. We got a lot of Indian words down here still, and we still pronounce them that way, like Tuscaloosa, Wetumpka, Talladega, Black Alabama, Arab Alabama, Opelika Alabama, Tuskegee, Tuscaloosa. Lots of words in the South. They just, is it French? Is it Spanish? Is it English? Is it Native American? Yes. What time period and when it was pronounced. So. Oh, you got half of a Mastiff and a Callahoola. Cool. Yeah, well, you're there, and like I said, raised in Montana, Creek. Yeah, but where did your people come from? They didn't. You got to remember, in 1870, there wasn't a handful of people in Montana from back east. They all kind of migrated out, and so the vast majority of them got in the late 1800s. And where'd they come from? The Civil War South had mass exodus because it was all invaded territory and destroyed, and people went west. And so you hear about all these things that happen in Nevada and Idaho and California and Oregon and stuff like that. And you go look at the names, and it's names out of places in Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee. That was a lot of the southern migration heading west. Go west, young man. There ain't nothing left in the east. Let's go west. And so many of them were displaced. That's where they went. Where Bear lives, Elba, Alabama. Okay. When Napoleon lost at Waterloo, his officers and all that were loyal to him, many of them were not allowed to come back to France because they were considered traitors, right? They asked to be allowed to come to America because Napoleon had just sold the Louisiana Territory to the United States, asked could they be allowed to come and settle in the Louisiana Territory, okay? There was no Alabama yet. It didn't get here till 1819. So a group of the French soldiers were allowed to come into America. They came into the Indian nations, the Creek Indian Nation down here in what is today Alabama, and the town of Elba, Alabama. Why'd they name it Elba? What was the name of the island that Napoleon had been exiled to? Elba. They were exiled to America, so they named the town Elba. That's where Bear lives, 20 miles from me. Elba, Alabama. French. So we got all kinds of names down here. Sometimes we put an R in the middle, yeah. Yes, it really is. Well, let's look at the fact that Upper New England was settled mostly by Germans and people out of Northern Europe. Okay. English, yeah, but mostly German, Northern, Irish, stuff like that. So their dialect up there kind of reflects that. The South, 80% of the people in the South are Scottish descent. And so therefore, they were, remember, the Romans had Hadrian's Wall, and them barbarians live up there north of that wall. They meant the Scots, you know. And Highland Scot, which is where my family came into this, they were Viking, which was Vikings and stuff like that, that had settled into Scotland and married the indigenous Scots, Irish, and we hear the term Scots Irish, and formed their own group. But they were not loyal to the king. They weren't loyal to England. They were only loyal to their chief because they were Viking descendants. Well, those were some of the people they brought into Georgia to create Georgia. And that's how my family got here. They were brought in to form the colony of Georgia. And so they were Highlanders, you know. So their speech pattern, even though they were supposed to be speaking English, was different, you know. And the Southern dialect is going away because of internet. Our kids are growing up hearing a harmonized version of the English language that is blending it to where our area dialects are disappearing. And you don't hear it as much. My accent is much more pronounced, but many of the kids that have graduated school in, say, the last 5 years, you go to listening to them and they have little or no accent, you know. And I've in the last year or two, I've traveled all over the country and be sitting there listening to people in Ohio, North Carolina, Kentucky, and etc. And if they're under the age of 30, they have little or no accent. If they're over the age of 40, they have a strong accent. But this box we're looking at is what's kind of taking care of that, where people are hearing a homogeneous sound to the way to pronounce things, and that's infecting their speech pattern. We used to, it was a regional dialect. Now it's international dialect. When Nelson gets his eye back, I hear you. Oh, cool, Mudslinger, got you. Midland, England. Yeah, blue band, the Cajun. Cajun, which is old French, 1700s French. And then you got Cajun, and then you got the 4 or 5 dialects down there that are going away. And it's simply because the people are homogenizing now. When you, those of you that are got a few years, Arcadian, yeah, Creole, Redbone, exactly. Um, y'all remember that when they spoke about how we were in school, you had to write a certain way, you had to speak a certain way. Even though we had our own little dialects, we had to be able to communicate. I can clearly remember in second grade when ain't showed up in the Bible, in the dictionary. When ain't showed up in the dictionary, I brought the book to class. You know, ain't, Southern slang. But when I was in first grade, they told us you cannot use the word ain't. It is not in the dictionary. And then they put it in. And so I made a point. She said, well, we're still not going to use it. I said, it's in the dictionary. So I can use ain't. Ain't it a shame that I can use it? And like Justin Coombe can tell you, there are German Texans. There are sections of Germany. Excuse me, there are sections of Texas that speak German because of the immigrants that went in there, like the Creole and the Cajun and all that in Louisiana. You got so many Germans in populations, just like you do up in Philadelphia and places like that. There were big German populations, you know, that still spoke native German or Austrian, etc. In it, just like you go down into lower Florida, Spanish is very common down there, you know, because of so many people moving in there. 34, 35, I think, total dialects in the United States, distinctly different, you know, not necessarily truly different words, but truly different ways of pronouncing those words. I'm sure I had a foreign national student that it was so confusing to him when he had learned in his native country to speak English, and he was going to be going and talking to the president of the company I worked for. And whenever I had greeted him at the airport, he'd walked up and I said, "Howdy, howdy." And he did not know what howdy, howdy was, you know. And so when he went and actually met the president of the company and he stuck his hand out and he said, "Howdy, howdy." And the president laughed and said, "You've been talking to Blackie." And he said, "Yes." He said, "Pleased to meet you." And he said, they had a good laugh. He said, "What does that mean?" He says, "Hello, hello. Howdy, howdy." Yeah, howdy, howdy. So we had a good laugh about it. Two guys in the Ozarks. It is kind of sad to see him slipping away, but it'll change one way or the other. If man can be known for one thing, it's constantly changing. Most of you that had the education that had to get in school like I did, you had to read Chaucer, Canterbury Tales, and you had to read Shakespeare. They are less than 100 years apart, I think 78 years apart. And yet the odds are if you put those two authors in the same room, they couldn't understood each other because one is pronouncing English as if it was French, and the other one is pronouncing English as if it was German because the Norman Conquest came out of Germany. And because of that, their languages have changed so much in just 70 years, they probably couldn't understand each other. You know, that's the reason, like in the English language, you have one. That should be spelled W-O-N-E, but we don't. We say O-N-E. That's on. Yeah, but it's because when it was pronounced like French, it was one. And then two, T-W-O, which should be T-O. No, it's T-W-O. It should be twoo. No, it was toi. It was pronounced like French. So it says wa, toi. But we keep it, the spelling, even though it does not relate to the way it is, you know, pizza, pizza, not pizza, P-E-A-T-Z-A. No, P-I-Z-Z-A. Pizza? No, pizza. Yeah. Two guys in the Ozarks, Cherokee, Wado. I can speak a little of 5 native dialects, enough to carry on. Back in the 80s and early 90s, don't ask me now, but I spoke Mobilian, a little bit of Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Cherokee, enough in be able to carry on a conversation with actual speakers of it. And but too many years without it. But unless you were born learning Cherokee, you will never be a fluent speaker. It's such a the syntax and the adjectives and the way it is. It's like Japanese. There's so much inflection in the words that it's you're speaking words, but you're actually just babbling them. So. Yeah. Haint versus ain't. I've heard haint around the Moorhead, Kentucky. Haint. Yeah. Ain't. Okay. Ain't means it is not true. It that ain't true. That ain't right. Haint means it ain't gonna be. So this ain't gonna happen. Not ain't gonna happen. Ain't is current text. Haint is future text. So this ain't happened, ain't never gonna happen. Ain't gonna do it. Ain't was always the future text of ain't. At least in my little neck of the woods down here. Yeah. Pittsburgh area. Dawn is pronounced dawn. Drove me crazy. I hear you. Yeah. One of my favorite cuss words was in um, Blackfoot Indian, which I shall not utter here because it is not politically acceptable. But I learned that early on in my living history, and there were several times in my life I found it very appropriate for the situation. So, but yeah, I mean, classic example. I'll tell you this little story. I was in Philadelphia at the Naval Yard and was putting a um, classified system for GPS onto a ship, a U.S. Navy ship. And I had been there like 5 days. It was July. It was hot. We're tied up at the dock doing all this stuff. It is D&D, death by detail, and trying to get this hooked up into the system where I'm the one that actually puts this in and gets it hooked up. But there's a chorus of Navy guys that have to be providing access to power, access to this system, the internet like hookup, the system hookup, the classified this hookup. They're just a chorus, and so it was hurry up and wait. And I was exhausted. I was mentally tired. I was so ready to go somewhere else. And it got to be lunch break, and I got off the ship, and several of the sailors had told me that, like a couple of piers down, there was this hoagie stand, which my southern tongue cannot properly enunciate it to the quality that they did of what hoagie was. But I figured it was some sort of sandwiches. And so I got down there and got in line with 400 other sailors, and you're working your way up. And it's very much like you see a delicatessen in New York or Hell's Kitchen or Chicago or whatever. And you would come up and they would say, I'll take a number 4 Reuben on rye and da 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 and all this stuff. They had all kinds of bread, all kinds of stuff. Well, I grew up eating plain white bread that doesn't have anything in it, just plain white sandwich bread. And up there, all the bread had some sort of seeds in it or something on the top of it. It was just, and this was the first time in several days I had seen actual plain white bread. And so when it came my turn, I had been watching over the counter, and I saw them. The lady turns around, and they're high speed. They won't go. So, what do you want? And I said, I want a tomato sandwich on why. You could have heard a pin drop. That whole place ground to a halt. And everybody looked at me, and she said, a what? I said, the white bread, that one right there, 2 down from the top, that white bread, mayonnaise, lettuce, 2 or 3 slices of tomato, salt and pepper, another piece of bread with mayonnaise on it on top. Tomato sandwich. That's what I want. And I heard way back up the aisle, some boy said, oh, a Southern boy. And she said, I can't sell you that. And I heard my grandfather's voice in my head that said, depending on where you're at is just how dumb you really are, boy. You can be a brilliant MIT physicist, but your butt ain't worth crap on a pig farm in South Alabama. And so I said, okay, BLT, hold the bacon. And she said, okay. And so she made me a BLT, hold the bacon. I guess they don't eat tomato sandwiches in Philadelphia. But they do vegetarian BLTs. So. Yeah. Had chewed through the smaller wire. Yeah. I remember that. Jeff Conley, the heaviest Southern accent you'd ever heard is native North Florida. They're few and far between because most of Florida is transplants from up north, especially when you get south of Tallahassee. Forget it. You hear dialects out of Brooklyn, Chicago, and West Coast far more than you do actual Southern. But there are some little hamlets, especially in southern Georgia, into northern Florida. Yeah, there's still a few people down there. Well, guys, that's been an hour and a half. I think we're going to call it quits. Now, as I said earlier, just in case you missed, I will be doing a video series, 4 or 5 videos. I've just got a new percussion revolver. I will be doing an unboxing and working way through it. And number 1. Number 2, we're going to get it ready to take to the range and get it set up to go to the range, do the initial sight in. We will then make corrections to get it to hitting point of aim, and then we're going to refinish the gun, defarbing it to make it look more like an antique. Not truly an antique finish like I've done in the past, but a weathered finish. We'll be doing that. It's going to be a series of probably 5, 6, 7 videos, and I will post it on my Rumble account once I get it done. But those of you that follow me for my percussion revolver stuff, I am going to generate this new series content, and I will put it there, and I will let you know on here when it's posted up over there so you can go watch it. Next Thursday night, I will not be here. Blackie's going to the woods. I need some woods time. It's time to go out and enjoy it a little bit more before it gets too hot to enjoy it. So I will not be in here next week, and I will try to post y'all a video on Thursday so you got something new to watch. Thank you so much for all the comments and discussions. I really look forward to this. Thank y'all so much. So till next time, Blackie wishing you safe journeys. Have a great night, and God bless.